So, even though mass timber is a term that's been used in the construction industry for quite a while, we see that it's not till the 2021 IBC that mass timber is defined in the code. So mass timber, by definition, is structural elements of type 4 construction, primarily of solid, built-up, panelized, or engineered wood products that meet minimum cross-section dimensions of type 4 construction. So now there is a big difference between what we see in the code and what we see as slang terminology in the industry, because I've heard mass timber utilized where it doesn't even meet this definition. But the keys to this is, one, it's solid wood construction. Two, it's categorized under type 4 construction. And because it's categorized under type 4 construction, it needs to meet minimum dimensional requirements that are defined in Chapter 23. Now, those dimensional requirements, they used to be in Chapter 6 of the code, where it defines the type of construction, but in the 2018 code, they moved those minimum dimensions into Chapter 23, which makes sense because that's the wood chapter. So that defines it. Now, certainly what we're going to be talking about are elements that can be used in mass timber construction. So you can have elements that are defined as mass timber, but as far as an entire building of mass timber, it's defined here. Okay, we'll go, this just gives you high level how we're going to progress through the presentation, and we have an overview. We'll look at building code allowances and the design standards. So just an overview. This is what we are probably most familiar with, which is conventional wood construction, wood frame construction, where we have all individual pieces that are come together to create a building. Whereas mass timber are, as I mentioned previously, elements, solid wood construction. All of these buildings shown here are made of mass timber elements. They weren't quite defined as the code definition because all of these were built before it was defined in the 2021 IBC, but certainly they have elements of mass timber construction, and we'll talk about most of these throughout the presentation. What are mass timber products? Well, we have sawn lumber, which includes heavy timber, and then we have glue-laminated timber, and then we have mechanically laminated timber decking, structural composite lumber, cross-laminated timber, and mass plywood panels. All of these products can be used in a mass timber building. And what we'll talk about, though, are the ones that are underlined here in this presentation, because these are the ones that are defined and more commonly used in mass timber construction. And so, for example, dowel-laminated timber, that is really, it's not prescribed in the code. So if anybody was going to use this, you'd have to go through an alternate means and methods. There is one company that provides this, and I believe they have an ICC report, but certainly it's not prescribed in the code. And then we have structural composite lumber, LVLs, PSLs, but that's not really one of the major wood products that is used in mass timber. And then mass plywood panels, that's certainly a mass timber that can be used for mass timber, but again, that's not prescribed in the code, so alternate means and methods would need to be used when using that in your building. So nail-laminated timber, this is actually just 2x material or even 3x material that's connected together. It's set on edge and it is mechanically connected together with fasteners. And this is an example of a building that used nail-laminated timber, and it's a 5/1 up in Portland, Oregon, a mixed-use project. And this shows you the interior of the building where you can see the nail-laminated timber, and then it's supported by glulam, really providing a warm atmosphere in the building, which is one of the key drivers for using mass timber construction, is the aesthetic appeal of what it brings to a indoor environment. And developers up in the Pacific Northwest are really they have recognized this as a plus when they're developing their projects. More people want to work in this environment. Companies are using this as sort of a carrot to entice people to come and work for them, because it's a very, especially with a high-tech industry, very competitive environment for getting people to come work in their company. So they're using this as a draw for their companies. Now, glulam, it's probably the oldest wood product, engineered wood product in the industry, and it's been around for a long time. This is an example of a building up in Ontario, out of Quebec, that is a mass timber building, used glulam timber.